Imagine this: sitting at a dinner table, surrounded by people who share your blood, your name, your history. You look at their faces and you realize something terrifying. You don't belong. The very people who were supposed to protect you, nurture you, and love you are the ones who shut the door in your face. That's not a stranger's betrayal. That's blood turning its back on you. And here's the part no one wants to say out loud. Sometimes the deepest wounds don't come from enemies outside your walls, but from the ones who share your last name. You grow up believing family is forever until you discover forever has conditions. Conditions like obedience, silence, conformity. And the moment you break those conditions, the moment you dare to think differently, to live differently, to be different, suddenly you're cast out. But what if I told you that this rejection, this devastating, soul-crushing pain wasn't actually the end of your story? What if I told you it was the beginning of something powerful, something that could change the entire direction of your life? Because hidden inside this betrayal is a truth no one dares to speak. And once you uncover it, you'll never see your family or yourself the same way again. There is a reason why the sting of family betrayal is unlike any other pain. When a stranger rejects you, it hurts, but it's easier to shake off. You tell yourself they don't know me, they don't matter, but when the wound comes from blood, from the people you trusted with your first breath, your first steps, your first dreams, it cuts into the very core of who you are. It's not just rejection, it feels like abandonment from the very foundation of your existence. You grow up being told that family is forever, that no matter what happens, you will always have a place where you belong. And when you believe that story, you carry it like a shield. You walk through life thinking, no matter how tough the world gets, I can always come home. But what happens when home is the battlefield? What happens when the people you love most are the very ones who don't believe in you, who tear you down, who remind you every single day that you are not enough? That shield shatters, and what's left is raw pain that lingers long after the words are spoken, long after the doors are slammed. It hurts the most because family rejection forces you to question your own worth. When a stranger says you're not good enough, you brush it off. But when your mother says it, or your father or your siblings, the people who raised you, it feels like proof that maybe you aren't lovable, proof that maybe you aren't worthy. And you carry that scar deeper than you realize. Some people spend their entire lives trying to prove themselves to the very people who will never clap for them. You keep running back to the fire that burned you, hoping this time it will give you warmth. That pain has layers. It's not just emotional, it's psychological, it's spiritual. It affects the way you see yourself, the way you love, the way you trust. It can make you doubt every decision. Because deep down there's this whisper, if my own family couldn't love me, then whoever will. That whisper destroys more dreams than failure ever could. It stops people from chasing opportunities, from building relationships, from living boldly, because they're haunted by the shadow of rejection from the people they loved most. And let's not sugarcoat it. Family betrayal feels unfair. You didn't choose them. You didn't sign up for this. You didn't walk into life asking to be born into people who couldn't love you properly. You were just a child looking for safety. You were just a young person hoping someone would see your potential. Instead, you got silence, criticism, comparison, maybe even outright hostility. And that unfairness makes the wound deeper because it leaves you wondering, why me? What did I do to deserve this? Here's the shocking truth. Many times their betrayal has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them, their insecurities, their limitations, their inability to understand your spirit. Sometimes family doesn't reject you because you are weak. They reject you because you are strong, because you don't fit into their box, because you remind them of what they couldn't be or what they were too afraid to become. They punish you for being different, not realizing that difference is your power. But even knowing that doesn't erase the pain, does it? You still feel the sting, you still feel the loneliness, nights where you wonder if you'll ever belong anywhere, days where you watch other families laugh and support each other, and you ask yourself why yours couldn't do the same. That ache is real. That emptiness is real. And it's okay to admit it. Too many people bury that hurt, pretending it doesn't matter, when inside it's eating them alive. The pain of blood betrayal is heavy, but it's also transformative, Because here's what most people never realize. Pain is a teacher, and betrayal by family is one of the harshest, most unforgiving teachers you will ever face. It forces you to grow up faster. It pushes you to question everything. It strips away the illusions of unconditional love and makes you confront life raw, without the cushion most people take for granted. Yes, it feels brutal. Yes, it feels isolating, but it also builds resilience in a way nothing else can. Think about it. If you can survive being rejected by the very people who should have loved you, then what else in this world can truly break you? If you can rise after being cast aside by your blood, then who can stop you? The very pain that makes you feel weak today will become the strength that carries you tomorrow. It's the weight that forges your backbone. It's the scar that makes you unshakable. The betrayal hurts the most because it forces you to choose, will you let this pain define you or will you let it refine you? Will you spend your life chasing their approval or will you finally decide that your worth isn't tied to their acceptance? Because the truth is this, family betrayal may have been the first chapter of your story, but it does not have to be the last. Some of the strongest, most successful, most fulfilled people on this planet are those who were betrayed by blood but chose to rise anyway. They turned the rejection into fuel. They turned the pain into purpose, and they built a life so powerful that one day even the family that doubted them could no longer ignore it. So yes, betrayal by blood hurts the most. It's a wound that doesn't heal quickly, but maybe, just maybe it's also the very thing that awakens you to your own strength. The rejection that once broke you can become the foundation that remakes you. And when you rise from it, you won't just survive. You'll thrive in a way that no one, not even your own blood, can deny. From the moment you are born, you're told a story that family is your safe haven, your anchor, your permanent team. You hear phrases like blood is thicker than water, as though DNA alone guarantees love, loyalty, and support. But as you grow older, you begin to notice cracks in that story. You notice how the people who share your blood can be the same ones who tear you down. You notice how sometimes the loudest critics, the harshest judges, the people who secretly or not so secretly don't want you to win, are sitting across from you at the family table. And suddenly, the story you were fed doesn't match the reality you live. That's the unspoken truth. No one wants to admit family does not always equal loyalty. Love and loyalty are earned through actions not handed out by birthright. Just because someone shares your last name does not mean they share your heart. Just because they carry your blood does not mean they carry your best interests. Some people in your family will celebrate your success, but others will resent it. Some will cheer when you rise, but others will quietly hope you fall, because your growth reminds them of everything they're too afraid to pursue themselves. The truth is, loyalty is about alignment. It's about values. It's about the willingness to stand beside someone, not just when it's convenient, but when it costs something. And too often, families mistake control for loyalty. They want you close as long as you obey their rules, fit into their mold, follow their expectations. But the moment you carve your own path, the moment you think for yourself, the moment you dare to be more than what they envisioned, their so-called loyalty shatters. What you thought was unconditional love turns out to be highly conditional. Conditional on your silence. Conditional on your obedience, conditional on your willingness to shrink so they can feel comfortable. This is why so many people feel trapped. They confuse blood with obligation. They think, I owe them loyalty because they're family, even when that loyalty is never returned. They keep sacrificing themselves on the altar of family expectations, bleeding out their dreams, their happiness, their individuality, just to maintain peace. But here's the hard truth. Loyalty that only flows in one direction is not loyalty. It's manipulation. Think about it. A friend who constantly disrespects you, betrays you, or sabotages you would never be considered loyal. So why do we excuse that behavior when it comes from family? Why do we allow ourselves to endure years of disrespect, belittling, and even emotional abuse under the excuse of, well, they're family? That phrase has been weaponized for generations to keep people silent, to guilt them into staying small, to convince them that blood alone deserves access to their lives. But if loyalty is not mutual, then it's not loyalty at all. It's captivity. And here's the part that stings. Sometimes the people you call family are not rooting for you at all. They might love you in their own way, but they also envy you. They might admire your courage, but secretly despise the mirror it holds up to their own fear. They might claim to want the best for you, but their version of the best often means the safest, the smallest, or the most controllable. And if you outgrow that version, they'll label you selfish, arrogant, ungrateful, anything to keep you chained to the version of yourself that makes them comfortable. But loyalty is not about making others comfortable. Loyalty is about standing by truth, by respect, by growth. Sometimes the most loyal act you can commit to yourself is breaking free from those who betray you under the excuse of family. Because loyalty to your blood should never come at the expense of betrayal to your soul. It's hard to accept this truth, isn't it? It feels cold, it feels harsh, it feels like you're violating some sacred code. You were taught that nothing matters more than family, so questioning that feels like betrayal on your part. But pause for a moment and look closely. Are you betraying them, or have they been betraying you all along? If they cannot stand by you without strings attached, if they cannot celebrate your joy without resentment, if they cannot accept you without trying to mold you, then what exactly are you being loyal to? A bloodline or an illusion? There are families out there who embody true loyalty. Families who build each other, who lift each other, who fight for each other with every ounce of strength they have. But there are also families who do the opposite. Families who divide, who compete, who manipulate, who harm. And you need to be honest enough with yourself to know which one you were born into. Because pretending will not protect you. It will only prolong your suffering. When you accept that family doesn't always equal loyalty, you take back your power. You stop chasing validation from people who never intend to give it. You stop trying to earn love where it's conditional. You stop bleeding for people who would not even hand you a bandage in return. And in that acceptance, you free yourself. You open the door to finding loyalty in places you never expected, through friends who become chosen family, mentors who believe in you, partners who stand beside you without fear or envy. You begin to build a circle, not based on blood, but on truth. And maybe, just maybe, that circle will be smaller than the family you were born into. But it will be real. It will be solid. It will be built on respect, not guilt, on support, not control, on love, not manipulation. Because true loyalty doesn't care about shared DNA. It cares about shared integrity. So the unspoken truth is this: family doesn't always equal loyalty, and blood doesn't always guarantee love. What guarantees love is action. What guarantees loyalty is presence. And if your bloodline cannot provide that, then you are not cursed. You are liberated, because it means you have the chance to redefine family on your own terms, to choose who earns a place at your table, to build bonds that are stronger than genetics, because they are forged by choice, not obligation. But one day, you will realize that loyalty is not measured by who shares your last name, but by who refuses to let you stand alone when the storm hits. And when you finally accept that truth, you'll stop mourning the loyalty you never had, and you'll start celebrating the loyalty you're about to create. Rejection from family can feel like the cruelest form of punishment, because it rarely makes sense on the surface. You sit there asking yourself over and over, what did I do wrong? Why can't they just accept me for who I am? You replay every moment, every conversation, every little disagreement, searching for clues as if there must be some hidden reason that justifies their betrayal. But here's the truth: most people never stop to consider. Often their rejection has less to do with you and everything to do with them. The roots of family betrayal run deep, tangled in jealousy, fear, insecurity, and even trauma passed down through generations. Sometimes, the rejection begins with something as simple as difference. Maybe you dared to dream bigger than what your family imagined. Maybe you refused to settle for the life they thought was good enough. To them, your courage to step outside the box is threatening. It reminds them of everything they were too afraid to do. Your independence shines a light on their limitations, and instead of celebrating your bravery, they resent it. They tell you you're arrogant, selfish, or ungrateful, when in reality what they feel is envy. They envy your courage, your freedom, your refusal to be chained to the same fears that held them down. Jealousy within families is one of the most poisonous roots of rejection. Parents compare children, siblings compete for attention, relatives keep score of who has achieved more. And when you begin to stand out, when your light shines a little too bright, it can trigger resentment in the people closest to you. Instead of feeling proud, they feel diminished. Instead of supporting you, they try to pull you back because your success becomes a mirror reflecting their own regrets. What they don't realize is that dimming your light won't make theirs shine brighter, but that doesn't stop them from trying. Other times, rejection is rooted in control. Families often carry unwritten rules about how you should behave, what you should believe, whom you should love, and even what kind of life you should pursue. Step outside of those rules, and suddenly you're branded the outcast. Your refusal to conform feels like rebellion. Your independence feels like disrespect. They don't reject you because you're wrong. They reject you because you refuse to be controlled. And for some families, control is more important than love. Generational trauma is another hidden root of betrayal. Many families are carrying wounds from the past, poverty, abuse, abandonment, cultural expectations, and without realizing it, they pass those wounds down. Maybe your parents never received love from theirs, so they don't know how to give it to you. Maybe they grew up in survival mode, where expressing dreams or individuality was a luxury they couldn't afford. So when you reach for more, it threatens everything they were taught. Their rejection isn't really about you. It's about the weight of pain and fear they never healed from. They simply project it onto you because you're the one brave enough to break the cycle they couldn't. Fear itself is a massive driver of family betrayal. Fear of losing you. Fear of being left behind. Fear that if you grow too much, you'll no longer need them. Some families would rather sabotage you than risk feeling abandoned by you. They think that by keeping you small, they can keep you close. They don't realize that rejection doesn't bind you. It drives you away faster than anything else. Their fear of loss creates the very loss they were so desperate to avoid. Then there's the harsh reality of favoritism. Families often play politics, whether they admit it or not. Some members are placed on pedestals while others are cast as scapegoats. Maybe you were the child who didn't follow the script, the sibling who didn't fit the image, the one who refused to play along. Instead of seeing you as an individual, they label you as the problem. And once you're assigned that role, no matter how much you try to prove yourself, they reject you to maintain their narrative. They need someone to blame, and you're the one strong enough to carry that blame. But let's face it, sometimes the root is even darker. Pure selfishness. Some people only value relationships that serve them. When you set boundaries, when you refuse to be used, when you stop giving them what they want, they punish you with rejection. They withdraw love as a weapon, hoping it will break you into submission. And if you don't understand this, you'll spend years chasing their approval, never realizing the game was rigged from the beginning. So why does your family reject you? It's not because you are unworthy. It's not because you are unlovable. It's because of their own shadows, their own limitations, their own fears. Their rejection says more about their wounds than it ever could about your worth. Yet here's the danger. If you don't recognize these hidden roots, you start to internalize them. You start believing their rejection is proof that something is wrong with you. You shrink. You silence yourself. You try to earn a love that was never meant to be withheld in the first place. And in doing so, you hand them the power to define you. The moment you see the roots clearly, the illusion breaks. You stop asking, why am I not enough? And you start asking, why are they so threatened by my enoughness? You stop blaming yourself for their wounds, and you start realizing those wounds were never yours to carry. Their jealousy, their control, their fear, it's their battle, not yours. Your role is not to fix them or convince them. Your role is to live fully despite them. And that's the secret power hidden in betrayal. The rejection that was meant to weaken you can become the fire that strengthens you. Every time they said you couldn't, you prove that you can. Every time they tried to hold you back, you move forward anyway. Every time they tried to silence you, you speak louder. Because you've understood the truth, rejection is rarely about your lack. It's about their inability to handle your presence. So the next time you feel the sting of family rejection, remember this. It is not a reflection of your worth, but a revelation of theirs. It exposes who they are, not who you are. And once you see that, you are free, free to rise, free to grow, free to build a life that no amount of betrayal can take away from you. There comes a point when you have to decide what to do with the pain. Betrayal by family can paralyze you if you let it. It can keep you replaying the same memories, the same conversations, the same rejection until you are frozen by it. But pain is not meant to be a prison. Pain is meant to be a forge. The fire of betrayal can either consume you or refine you into something unbreakable. And the choice of which path it takes is yours. The first step is realizing that you don't need their approval to live your life. That is the trap most people fall into. They spend years chasing validation from the very people who withhold it. You try harder, you give more. You bend yourself into shapes that don't even look like you. All in the desperate hope that one day they will finally say, "We are proud of you." But what if that day never comes? What if their silence is permanent? Do you stop living? Do you stop becoming? Or do you finally decide that your identity is not up for negotiation, not even with family? Building an identity without approval starts with understanding that you are not defined by who accepts you, but by who you choose to become. Rejection is not a verdict on your worth. It's an opportunity to separate your destiny from their expectations. Maybe they wanted you to live a small life, to follow their path, to stay where they were comfortable. But your calling is bigger than their imagination. And if you keep waiting for them to see it, you'll spend your entire life waiting in vain. So you take the betrayal and you turn it into fuel. Every time they told you that you couldn't, you use it as a reason to prove you can. Every time they tried to silence your voice, you let it push you to speak louder, clearer, bolder. Every time they made you feel like you weren't enough, you double down on becoming more than even you thought possible. Because betrayal is not the end of your story. It's the spark that ignites the fire within you to write a new one. There's power in living without the need for approval. When you stop seeking it, you start creating authentically. You start moving in directions you never dared before because you're no longer shackled by the question, what will they think? The truth is, they've already judged you. They've already rejected you. So why give their opinions power over you now? If they've already shut the door, then what do you have to lose by walking your own path? That is the freedom betrayal gives you. The chains are gone. The expectations are broken. You get to decide fully and completely who you are going to be. And let's be honest, sometimes rejection is protection. Sometimes the absence of their approval is the very thing that saves you from living a life that was never yours to begin with. Because had they embraced you, had they fully supported you, maybe you would have settled, maybe you would have stopped reaching higher, maybe you would have stayed small just to keep their love. But when they withdrew that love, it forced you to find strength in yourself. It forced you to grow roots in your own soil. It forced you to learn that you could stand on your own 2 feet without anyone holding your hand. That's not weakness, that's liberation. Think of all the people in history, all the leaders, creators, innovators who were once told no by those closest to them. They were doubted, dismissed, even cast out. But instead of crumbling, they used that doubt as rocket fuel. They built identities so strong that the very people who once rejected them had no choice but to acknowledge them. Your story can be the same. The betrayal you feel today can be the very reason you succeed tomorrow, if you choose to let it drive you instead of destroy you. It takes courage to break free from the cycle of approval. It means setting boundaries and saying, I will no longer shrink to make you comfortable. It means choosing your own voice over the chorus of criticism. It means learning to clap for yourself even when no one else does. And that's where real strength comes from. Not from being loved by everyone, but from being unshakable even when you are loved by no one. There will be lonely nights. There will be moments where you feel the weight of walking alone. But understand this, loneliness is not the same as emptiness. Loneliness is simply space. Space to grow. Space to heal. Space to discover who you really are without the noise of other people's expectations. And in that space, you will find something more valuable than approval. You will find self-respect. You will find clarity. You will find purpose. And here's the irony. The moment you stop needing their approval is often the moment they start to notice you. Because nothing is more powerful, nothing is more magnetic than someone who knows who they are and refuses to apologize for it. But by then, you won't be living for their recognition. By then, you'll realize that you don't need it, because the life you've built on your own terms will be proof enough. So turn the betrayal into fuel. Let it sharpen you, let it drive you, let it remind you every single day that you were never meant to live small, never meant to live chained to the opinions of others. You were meant to rise, to expand, to create a legacy that goes far beyond the limitations of your bloodline. And when you do, when you stand tall in the identity you built without approval, you won't just survive their rejection, you'll thrive because of it. Then one day, you will look back and realize that their rejection was a gift. Painful? Yes. Brutal? Yes. But a gift nonetheless, because it forced you to find the one person whose approval you always needed but never sought. Your own. There comes a moment when you realize that family is not defined by blood, but by bond. The people who share your DNA may not always share your heart, your vision, or your values. And if you spend your life trying to force them into roles they cannot or will not play, you'll stay stuck in a cycle of disappointment. The truth is, you have the power to redefine what family means for you. You have the power to build a circle of people who don't just tolerate you but celebrate you, who don't just accept you but push you to rise higher. Think about it, family at its core is supposed to be about love, trust, and support. It's supposed to be about having people who stand with you through storms and victories alike. But what happens when the people you were born to don't give you that? Do you surrender to loneliness? Do you let bitterness harden your heart? Or do you take control and create a new version of family, a chosen family made of people who truly understand and uplift you? That is where your power lies. Redefining family begins with a shift in perspective. Instead of clinging to the idea that loyalty must come from blood, you start asking, who shows up for me? Who listens without judgment? Who celebrates my wins without jealousy? Who challenges me to be better, not smaller? These are the people who earn the right to stand in your circle. And once you realize that, you free yourself from the prison of chasing love where it's never given. Some of the strongest bonds you'll ever create won't come from the people you grew up with, but from the people you meet along the way. Friends who see the best in you when you can't see it yourself. Mentors who guide you without expecting anything in return. Partners who believe in your dreams as if they were their own. Even strangers who cross your path and shift your life in ways you never expected. These are the ones who become your real family, the family you choose, not the one you were assigned. And here's the powerful thing about chosen family, it's built on truth, not obligation. You're not connected because of guilt or tradition. You're connected because of shared values, respect, and love. There is no need to shrink yourself. No need to hide parts of who you are. No need to fight for a seat at the table. Because in this family, the table was built for you. You belong without question. When you start building your circle of power, something amazing happens. You stop feeling desperate for the approval of those who never gave it. You stop begging for scraps of love from people who withheld it like a weapon. Instead, you are surrounded by energy that feeds you, strengthens you, and pushes you forward. That's when growth becomes unstoppable. That's when you realize you were never alone. You were just looking in the wrong place. But building that circle requires courage. It means letting go of toxic bonds, even if they are tied to your bloodline. It means accepting that some people, no matter how much you love them, may never be capable of giving you what you need. That's not your failure. It's simply their limitation. And holding on to those bonds out of guilt or fear only drains you. To rise, you must release. To create space for your chosen family, you must clear out the seats occupied by those who never valued you in the first place. Redefining family also means becoming the kind of person you want to attract. If you want loyalty, you must embody loyalty. If you want respect, you must show respect. If you want encouragement, you must be someone who encourages others. Energy is magnetic. You will draw in people who match the standard you live by. And when your circle is built with that kind of intention, it becomes a fortress. Not a fortress that isolates you, but one that protects your spirit, amplifies your vision, and reminds you every day that you are not alone. This doesn't mean you have to hate or cut off your blood family entirely. It simply means you stop expecting them to be what they cannot be. You adjust your expectations. You stop handing them the power to validate or invalidate your worth. You place them where they belong in your story, but not as the authors of it, and then you take the pen back into your own hands, writing new chapters with people who deserve to be in them. The beauty of building a chosen family is that it creates legacy. One day, you may be the person someone else chooses as family. Your strength, your loyalty, your love may become the anchor that someone else never had in their bloodline. In breaking free and building your circle, you don't just change your life, you change the pattern for generations to come. You show that love, loyalty, and belonging are not bound by blood, they are bound by choice. Imagine standing in a room surrounded by people who believe in you, not because they have to, but because they want to. Imagine knowing that no matter what battles you face, you have a tribe that will stand beside you, not out of obligation, but out of devotion. That is the power of redefining family. That is the power of creating your circle. And when you find it, you'll look back at the betrayal, the rejection, the loneliness, and you'll realize it was all leading you here to the moment you discovered what real family truly means. So yes, blood may have betrayed you, but you are not bound to that betrayal. You are free to redefine, to rebuild, to reclaim what family means in your life. And when you do, you won't just survive the loss of their approval. You'll thrive in the abundance of love and loyalty you chose for yourself. That is how you build a circle of power. That is how you turn pain into strength, rejection into belonging, and betrayal into legacy. You've carried the weight of rejection, the sting of betrayal, the loneliness of being cast aside by the very people who were supposed to stand by you. But here is what you need to understand. Being betrayed by blood does not mean you are broken. It does not mean you are unworthy. It does not mean you are destined to live small. It means you were chosen for a different path, a harder one. Yes, a lonelier one at times, yes, but a path that will forge you into someone stronger than you ever imagined. You do not need their permission to rise. You do not need their blessing to become, you do not need their loyalty to build a legacy. What you need is the courage to stand on your own, the strength to redefine what family means for you, and the fire to turn their rejection into your reason to succeed. Remember this, family is not who shares your blood. Family is who shares your vision, your values, your heart. Betrayal may have been your beginning, but it is not your ending. Your story is not about the ones who walked away. It is about the one who refused to give up, and that one is you. So lift your head, stop chasing closed doors, stop begging for love where it is withheld, build your own table, choose your own people, create your own circle of power. And when the day comes that you look back on all of it, the pain, the rejection, the silence, you will realize it wasn't your curse. It was your calling. And when you rise, not in spite of their betrayal, but because of it, you'll carry a truth that no one can take from you. Sometimes the greatest gift is not being accepted by the family you were born into, but finding the strength to create the family and the life you were always meant for.